Hello, gorgeous souls. Welcome to Cosmo Muse Tarot. And today I am going to sort of dive into an astrologically focused reading. For those of you that don't know me very well or at all, my main thing is I've done astrology for like 25 years. I love cards also, but I would say that astrology is like my top-notch skill. So I'm going to try and lean a little bit more into that in some upcoming readings, starting with this one. Side note on that, if you are into astrology and you want some of my insights more regularly, just without cards, I do put out an astrology newsletter that I'll do like the month ahead for each new month or each new zodiac season that starts, or when planets shift signs, I'll send out, little info on it. The link to sign up or subscribe to that newsletter is in the descriptions. It is free. You can upgrade to a paid version, which just gets by sign horoscopes as well with each of those. But today's card reading in terms of astrology is going to be about the Mercury Retrograde coming up from April 1st through the 25th. And Mercury is a planet that really affects our daily lives. All of the planets can go into retrograde, minus the sun and moon, which technically aren't planets anyways, but like traditional planets, they all go in retrograde. But Mercury, when that one goes into retrograde, it really stirs up our day-to-day lives. This planet has to do with communication, community, our thinking processes, ideas, mindsets, neighbors, siblings, peers, and like our day-to-day processes, contracts, commerce. It really, really functions in that day-to-day level. And when a planet goes retrograde, it's infertile. It's not in a fertile mode. We're supposed to be focusing on things that are already in motion and really visiting, rethinking, revising, editing, getting feedback, that kind of stuff with things already in motion. Because it's not a fertile time, if you initiate new things, and I will give examples of this, and sometimes it's unavoidable. One example is a couple of times my husband has had a job offer he's accepted during Mercury retrograde, and it has ended up being a wonky job. I'm not going to be one that says don't ever do that, because sometimes we have to go through an uncomfortable phase as a stepping stone, and I think him taking those jobs were stepping stones to where he then ended up. But the jobs themselves were a little bit chaotic. They weren't a disaster, they were just like chaotic and not what he thought they were going to be. Other things that can happen, so I have planned travel during a Mercury retrograde, and anytime I do, guaranteed something's going to happen where the plane is delayed or they cancel that flight and move everyone to different flights. So like one I did, the flight was canceled, but they moved everyone to flights, but I was traveling with friends, but we all bought our own tickets and everyone ended up on like different flights. And so it was like a huge process to get us all back on the same flight. There was like rental car drama. The trip itself ended up being fun. There were a lot of, errors, a lot of redoing things, some just like general frustrating things, but it's not like it's a disaster. It's just not the best timing to initiate new things. What I want to focus on in this reading is what we are supposed to do with Mercury in retrograde. It's upside, which is we're coming into sort of a summit with something about intellect and mind and communication and community. It's a time to focus more on mastery with things that are in motion and solidifying things. And it's that thing of like if you were creating a thesis for a master's project, this is the editing mode. This is the mode of like it's sort of at least outlined or a first draft is done and now it's time to refine it and hone it and make it perfect. That's the feeling I get with a Mercury retrograde. It's filled with edits. It can be frustrating. Anyone who's had to, do third and fourth drafts of big papers will know that it's a difficult process, but when you finish it, there's a certain satisfaction and there's certain epiphanies that come and there's certain new mastery you gain by like really diving in and getting into the material. And that's what I want to focus on is like, what are the epiphanies that are going to come? What are these big ahas and more masterful thinking and understanding that come with this retrograde? Not that it won't be without frustration, but what will be worth it to go through this Mercury retrograde? This one in specific is in the sign of Aries. It's the first sign of the Zodiac, and it's also right over the eclipse degree. So really right in front of what's called the North Node. There's a North and South Node, and those determine where eclipses happen. And the North Node is where there is endings and beginnings of a 19-year cycle. And this Mercury retrograde is taking place right in front, over the threshold of that North Node where there's a totally fresh beginning. So it's a very funny retrograde to me because nothing has begun yet on the mental plane really at this point, and it's a very impulsive, hungry point. So my sense of it is that we're going to have to use a lot of restraint because we're going to have like a lot of potential false starts because there's not a lot to master, or things that we're revising and rethinking are completely fresh and completely new, and we'll have a lot of beginners curves to them. And I do think that we're going to have a lot of impulses to want to initiate new things because of these degrees that Mercury retrograde is in. The last time Mercury went over these degrees, it was, Aries, these degrees of Aries were ending things. So we may be, even though this is sitting in fresh territory, its previous visit to these degrees to me indicates that we might be revisiting things that we're putting to rest, that we're walking through shadows of and surrendering to and kind of letting go of a little bit. And Aries has a lot to do with how we find our center, how we find a sense of passion, connecting to what lights us up. It's a sign of impulse, of self-determination, of out with the old, in with the new, creating fresh order. So I think a lot of kind of putting to bed old mentalities, old ideas, old types of communication and communities that we're kind of letting go of around things we no longer feel deeply connected to make space for the fresh terrain that we've crossed into with Aries energy. So let's get into this. We're going to pick the 3 piles. I am not going to assign these by astrology sign. I think we all have very dynamic, complicated charts. If you know anything about astrology, you have every sign in your chart. You have all sorts of planets and all sorts of signs. You have rising signs and moon signs and sun signs and Venus and Mars. So I don't love to just say if you're this sign, you know, all of the water signs choose this or all of this choose that. I think intuition is better here. I think because we have such dynamic charts, really just connect to where you're feeling drawn. And we are going to be looking at, your Mercury retrograde journey, maybe what kinds of epiphanies and ahas that you will be coming into. Okay. So we have pile 1 with the captain. Pile 2 with the guide. And pile 3 with the muse. Okay, I'll hold these up to get a better view. So pile 1, the captain, taking command, teamwork. Pile 2, the guide, inheritance, correction. And pile 3, the muse, generosity, naivety. Okay, so feel free to pause here if you need time with each of these cards to fill into which one's drawing you in. If you feel drawn to more than one, feel free to do that as well. I think we're very dynamic. It's possible you'll be learning and having multiple epiphanies. Whatever you just feel drawn into, that is what you should go with. Okay, when you're ready, timestamps will be in the descriptions, and I will see you in your readings. Hello, pile 1. Welcome to your Mercury retrograde reading. Specifically, this Mercury retrograde is in Aries. And I love the captain coming up for this because Aries is a very, like in the tarot, the emperor is associated with Aries. It's very much so, it kind of has boss energy. It's like commander sort of energy. It doesn't really love to boss others, but it wants to be its own boss. It wants to, but like the captain to me would be very Aries-esque energy. It's bold. It's willing to be the pathfinder, which I think that's something a captain would do, is like finding the path to find or to follow. So taking command and teamwork, which is interesting because Aries is not really known as a team worker unless there is like an objective, because it could be, you know, there is a military association with Aries. I like to think more of like the warrior and the soldier, but it can be the general too. And so maybe this is like, maybe you archetypally are like a little bit more of a leader or commander. And so you use your ability to pathfind, to create order, to sort of give direction in life. Something you're willing to hold responsibility in. So there's something coming up in this retrograde that you're coming into some bigger understandings of, some more solidified understandings of. You may be letting go of old ways of kind of being that captain archetype, taking command of things, and finding sort of new, fresh epiphanies settling in around this, of how you want to kind of take charge in life and almost be like a director of things. I can't help but notice this star at the top. It's like finding a new North Star, a new way, a new understanding of what it means to be in command. And not in command like a king, because like that also has like a Leo association. Leo is like royalty and the king and the leader. But with Aries, it's like a leader in something new. And when I think of like a captain, it is, you have to find the path, a leader in finding the path. So the way in which you're a pathfinder and can lead and bring people together in forging new territory, being a pioneer, I feel like you're just like finding a new North Star around that, whatever that means to you. The way in which you hold that command, the way in which you find direction and clarity, or just new, I don't know, just like fresh new energy coming in around that for you too. Okay, let's get a Priestess of Light Oracle card to flesh this out a little bit more. What's going on here? Sacred action, decisive focus. Yeah, so something coming, some epiphanies, some understanding, settling in around how to, decisive focus to me is having to be that pioneer, that pathfinder of like, I may not 100% know that this is the correct course, but I feel it in my gut. I trust myself. I know I do a good job at this. I'm very focused on it. I think I've done a good job, and I'm taking, I'm just trusting myself. I can be decisive and I can take action and I can hold the responsibility for that because others may have to follow me. And I'm willing to stand in that kind of boldness. And that's what it feels here, like really coming into an understanding of like in what ways you need to be bold in decisiveness, in focus, in action. And that having to do with kind of like this pathfinder commander role. Yeah, interesting. And Aries is an energy because it's very singular. It has really tight boundaries and it hasn't gotten complex enough yet that things, you have to hold a lot of nuance. It can have tremendous focus. And I think maybe there's something coming through here too of like understanding the purpose and the power of really simplifying and creating really tight boundaries in order to gain clarity and focus, in order to create action plans and take command through that. Okay, we are also going to do a Woodland Warden card, and I will be reading from the book for this one. Oops, here we go. The Wolf and Rosehip Guardianship. Beautiful. Okay, let's see what the book says about this. Just find it first. Oh, I turned right to it. That's crazy. The wolf travels in a pack. That's interesting teamwork and the pack coming here. So for you, what's interesting is Aries may sit in a more communal house, like your 3rd house or 7th or 11th or even your 4th house. Something where your quality of Aries does tend to come with sort of community with it. Okay, so the wolf travels in a pack, protecting its family and community. Like the hound, the wolf signifies loyalty and commitment. Relatedly, the rosehip is a source of food, but also a symbol of love, as it is the berry produced by the rose plant. Its combined associations with nourishment and affection make it an emblem of familial love and care. You are called to be a mentor. Who among your pack might need your counsel? Taking a leadership role in community activism is another way to lead like the wolf. Whom can I mentor? How can I be a leader in my community? Whom do I turn to for help? So definitely something coming into some understanding, some solidifying around the way in which you do lead, but in how you step into leadership, it's like having to be a pioneer, having to be that captain of a ship where you're using the stars to navigate and you have to chart the course as you go. and bring everybody into agreement to work towards, that path and make that path work. There is something here about feeling a sense of loyalty and duty to those that are on that path with you, that you are leading, and really wanting to take care that you teach them as you know things to kind of, just strengthen that community, strengthen the pack you're traveling with. Not see it as, because sometimes Aries can be very competitive. But there's like a very wise energy in this Aries understanding coming through of like, if everyone's strong that I travel with, we're all stronger together, and we all can chart this new course together in a much more powerful and profound and secure way. So it is a very wise Aries energy coming through. And it makes sense as, coming through those, maybe revisiting, even though this is very fresh territory that this Mercury retrograde is in. Like I said, the last time it was here, it was at the end of a cycle. And so there's something about that bridging of these, deep understandings, revisiting what is coming to an end as it feels like reflection. You're reflecting on things you've come to really deeply understand about leading, about charting courses, and about moving with a pack. That's very, heart-centered, but feeling this new in the new degrees, feeling some new determination, some new eagerness coming through of like how to apply these big understandings you've come through, having gone through a whole cycle of Aries energy. It's like a 19-year journey for a node to return to a point. So last year when Mercury went through Aries, it was kind of completing a 19-year journey. And now it's starting a new 19-year journey. So it's kind of bridging that, like, what did I learn on that last course, and how am I so much more, it's like this that's what it is. It's like this epiphany coming through of like how much wiser and older and learned and experienced I am, and like recognizing the value of having community and skilled community. So that's really beautiful. Okay, we are going to do some tarot cards for a little more to go along with all of this. Princess of Discs. This feels like whatever kind of new course you're going to end up charting, taking command of is very, that makes sense. It's fresh, it's new, it's filled with potential, especially materially. And then we've got Ace of Swords. Yeah, very fresh new energy. I think you're reflecting on the past 19 years or so, 18 to 19 years, really letting some big understandings come through. And it's really lighting you up. It's giving you new energy. You're really feeling the new potential of the wisdom you've gained and how to take it forward. And yeah, when it's time to go forward, when we're done with this Mercury retrograde, it just feels like everything's going to be aligned. And you will just be charting course on a new kind of very aligned, fresh, energetic, successful kind of journey that you're kind of captaining, but I think you're bringing people with you in a way where you want them to be just as, powerful and capable as you. And it's fortune favoring the bold here. Okay, to end, let's get you a divine feather message, just a message from Spirit to leave you with. And for me, this is more about, not about this time in Mercury retrograde, because I think there's a lot of reflection. You're coming to understand this, but once it goes forward, end of April, what then when you start to move forward? How does, what's the message about this? Ostrich, the choice is clear for you now. Follow the wisdom and truth you feel in your heart. So it does feel like action, like taking action. Choice is clear. We have Ace of Swords, which definitely could be like a choice is clear. Direction is clear. A focus is clear. Yeah. There will be kind of this once, probably even more into May, because even after Mercury retrograde ends on April 25th, there's this post shadow period with like a little bit of an incubation for what new thing is coming. So I think in May it will be more, that's when that like green light is going to hit, and it's going to be very exciting and fresh and forward moving, and and very fortunate, whatever it is that the choice is about and what you are going towards, especially with like a pack. Okay, that is your Mercury retrograde in Aries reading. I hope this was insightful. If so, I always appreciate support, likes, shares, subscribes. Also always grateful for kind and thoughtful comments, and I wish you so much beauty in the insights that will be coming through for you this Mercury retrograde. Try to just slow down, take things in, listen to the universe and what it's saying about making tweaks and rethinking and letting just greater understanding come through. And then, in May, it's going to be like really, really exciting. Okay, I will see you in future readings, and I wish you a beautiful day. Hello, Pile 2. Welcome to your Mercury retrograde in Aries reading. You guys picked the guide with inheritance and correction, which is really interesting, and I can't help but notice all the keys on this, as well as the bell. To me, it feels like this Mercury retrograde, with Aries energy, we all, just to preface this, we all have every sign within us. You don't need to be an Aries sun or moon or rising. We all have every zodiac sign within us. We all have Aries energy within us. And that energy has a lot to do with how we find our sense of self, our clarity, we find clarity by coming into our center, being sure about who we are, what lights us up, and what our direction in life is. And here I think it would make sense that something's probably been a little bit confusing around this, like what is my direction? Where am I going? Because things have been ending for Aries. For the Aries energy, it's in a phase of letting go of things, and so this retrograde this year, we're getting new seeds in Aries. It's kicking off a new 19-year journey, but the last several years it's been in this kind of decompression. It's been in a winter phase. It's been letting go of things. It's been decompressing, rejuvenating, healing. Maybe a little bit lost, especially for Aries, which is kind of our center. And when we don't have our center, we feel a little discombobulated, right? But something's sort of like congealing. That winter incubation that Aries has gone through for several years is getting this new kickstart. And this Mercury retrograde is over into the rebirth degrees of Aries. And I think you're starting to get the keys. You're starting to reflect on the last 19 years, getting some ahas and some epiphanies and some understanding and some letting go of certain things, but also coming into, just hindsight is 2020, right? And you're just gaining new solidity of understanding about what you've been through and who it's made you into, and what that means going forward, who you have become. And a lot of keys are going to be coming to you during this retrograde to really solidify that. But also with the bell, a lot of messages. Watch for synchronicities, watch for messages. There's going to be a lot of really profound things coming towards you, keys to things, messages to things, synchronicities that are helping to clarify what the past round of Aries energy, the past round of its 19-year journey has been about for you in your life and in your chart, wherever Aries rules. And it could be very different. For some of you, it might be ruling your family. For others, it could rule relationships. For others, you might have your sun there and it's much more prevalent, but it's somewhere in each of our charts. Yeah, and there's just like keys and epiphanies through reflection on what the last about 18 to 19 years has been about. And through that, you're sort of course correcting these keys that are coming, these, with bells, it's like a bell too, sort of like an epiphany, like the bell went off in my head, like it just like suddenly rang clear, right? That's kind of a saying. Things are becoming clear and it's helping you to see more clearly, like, with the hindsight 2020, it's like, okay, well, I did that wrong. I didn't understand that, but like I get it all now. And so now you can kind of go into this fresh new Aries 19-year journey, with Mercury connected to the mind, with right ideas, with right understanding, with more correct understanding about who you are, what lights you up, what the key is to your sense of self, and positive thinking. Interesting inheritance coming through here, and keys. You may be literally given some, like you may inherit some keys to certain paths or certain new things in life. I do think, just universally, without having to look at cards, there's going to have to be reflection over the next, from seeing this at least the next month. But with that, I feel like it's almost equal to the amount of reflecting you do, the amount of understanding and keys that come to you. Inheritances in terms of keys to things come to you. So yeah, it's a really, really powerful retrograde, really coming into some understanding through reflection that help you to get onto a better course around your sense of self, your sense of direction, your sense of passion and what lights you up in life. It's a very pivotal month for, reflecting to course correct and get on a much better course for the next journey, the next Aries 19-year journey. Okay, let's do a Priestess of Light Oracle to add to this. Precognition, psychic ability, future vision. Yeah, so as you reflect, and that makes sense, when you reflect and you can see where you've come from, it's so much easier to see where you are now going or where you should go. And so in that reflection, some of the keys you're being handed is precognition, future vision, a really clear understanding of where you're supposed to go, and a really clear understanding of what makes you happy, what makes you feel positive, what makes you feel a sense of drive and motivation and passion in life. Really coming into a clarity of being able to see that whole 19-year journey because you're so clear about who you are and what lights you up and what your direction should be and how that might play out over 19 years, So having really amazing vision and foresight based on the amount and quality of reflection you do. Okay, next card, we're going to do a Woodland Warden, and I will be reading from the book for this one. Ooh. The Deer and Oat with Healing. Yeah, I feel that for this group. I don't know why it wasn't necessarily in the guide card, but I felt this thing of like you got off path around your direction and what motivated you, like you kind of lost your center or something, and reflecting on that past 19 years and really coming into how that happened, where it went off course, reconnecting with who you are and what lights you up. It's like not only is it giving you such a better like correction and course for the next Aries journey and this beautiful foresight and just clarity about where you're going, but it's very healing as well. It's a very healing Mercury retrograde, so really lean into that. Epiphanies and ahas coming through. I think you're really going to come into a sense of like a much more confident and clear sense of who you are, hence how to stay centered in that and lit up in life. Okay, let's read for Deer and Oat. Let's see. Okay, healing. The shy and gentle fallow deer is known for its white spots and the broad velvety antlers it sheds and regrows each year. Similarly, oats are symbols of restorative nutrition. Even in poor soil, oats can flourish, providing hearty sustenance. Rest and recharge, moderation and mindfulness are key as you recover from trauma or a period of intense exertion. How do I rest and recharge? What practices nourish my soul? Yeah, I don't know if you've, that overwhelm feels important here. Moderation. Yeah, there's rest and recharge, moderation, and mindfulness are key for your healing. It says you may be feeling overwhelmed and in need of a break. Consider withdrawing for a while to heal in isolation. That's the reverse reading, but in light of other things that have come out, it feels important maybe to talk about. Yeah, I think it's possible you've tried to be too much. Aries is our drive and our assertion and what lights us up, and maybe you're someone who gets lit up by a lot and so can like scatter your energy and be multiple things to multiple people as well as to yourself, just diverse, which isn't a bad thing. There's nothing wrong with that. But this is saying, like, as you reflect on the past 19 years and how maybe that got out of control and overwhelming and very taxing, and really by the end of that just left you flat, like feeling no passion, feeling no connection to self. In this next round, you can be like, yeah, I am a very diverse, flexible, multi-interested person, but maybe I need to, instead of doing 20 things, like really focus on 3 or 4. Try not to be everything to everyone or do everything that I feel impulsive about. Really come more into a maturity where I, instead of being a jack of all trades, of 20 trades, I'm a master of 3 or 4. Still being diverse, still being multifaceted, still being, exciting and moving and shaking things. But like through that 19-year journey, maybe you realize, okay, but of those 20 things, I actually really didn't end up loving a lot of them. So what were the things that really stick out to me, or where am I really feeling called? And this time I'm not going to spread myself so thin. I'm still going to be diverse and exciting, but like I'm keeping it tighter. I'm keeping it tighter so that I keep my energy more intact and my focus more intact. That's what that feels like here. Interesting. Okay, let's do some tarot cards but definitely a message coming through here that this Mercury retrograde is especially around your mind, because this is about Mercury. Really resting your mind, just reflecting, taking a bit of a break, to reflect on the past 19 or so years, find those keys, those messages, those clarity coming through, and getting very clear about how you want to go forward with feeling centered, with your sense of self, with your direction in life, and being a little bit more focused here. And that comes through with this precognition, and she's wearing sort of like I think it's a hawk headdress, which is, it is a much more focused energy that I'm feeling, rather than kind of spread thin. Just like I can still be diverse, but not, but in a few things. And that allows me to stay more clear and more focused. And yeah, so it's coming through in a lot of ways here. Okay, let's get some tarot cards to add to this. We've got the Star, beautiful, a lot of beautiful new hope coming through. So reflect, rest, heal. Your sense of centering is coming back. Your mind is going to come into tighter, more clear sense of direction. Things are pulling together during this Mercury retrograde to be able to move forward, but you do need to allow yourself downtime in order to pull it together. Reflect, gain the keys. Get clear about where you're going, who you are, what lights you up, what's newly rising in you. Six of Cups is about reflecting, look back on, but also not just reflecting, but actual nostalgia. What holds specifically to you memories from growing up where you had the greatest sense of clarity and direction in life, where you really knew who you were. Reflect on that as well, not just the past cycle or journey of Aries, but think all the way back to your childhood, unless you're only unless you're younger, that is childhood. Wherever you are in your life, reflect back on childhood, really re-engage, especially the years right around if everyone's memory is a little different, but I think we start to have decent narrative memory by 6 and 7. So maybe because those years from 0 to 7 are actually the Aries years of our lives in terms of developmental psychology. But narrative memory comes on a little later. So definitely reflect on the years of 6 and 7 and nostalgia that came through there, and what you felt very clear about, and where you felt excitement and just deep knowing. Really visit your inner child that has so much clarity about who you are and what lights you up and in this, it's what's fun too. In this specific Six of Cups, it's there's a sense of fun there with the butterflies. It's light. What was fun? What was light? And that butterfly energy is that multifaceted energy. It's very curious and into all the things, but they are focusing on one cup. You may have a lot of interest, but what was that one thing that just lit you up, right? Revisit that. Not that you have to act on that and that has to be that direction, but that feeling, revisit that feeling of what it is to have a real focal thing. There may be 7 peripheral things, but what's that focal thing? What's that main holy grail to you, And when in your childhood did you have that main focus, even though you had a lot of interests? What was that main focus, and how did that feel, and what does that feel like that is for you now? That's what this feels like. Yeah, beautiful. So I think a really healing Mercury retrograde period in terms of coming back into a sense of self and focus and foresight about how to move forward with greater focus around what lights you up in life, what drives you, what motivates you. And feeling like you're gaining certain keys to the kingdom because you're much more clear now. You can do this round much better through the reflections you're going to have during this cycle. And the next next Aries cycle will be much more course corrected due to, with Mercury, your understanding of yourself and what lights you up. Okay, to end, we are going to get a Divine Feather message specifically for after the Mercury retrograde ends. So it ends April 25th, but we're still going to be in shadow. So just to explain what that is, we're let's see, mid-March, we went into pre-shadow. So Mercury is traversing degrees. As I'm doing this reading, that once it goes into retrograde, it's going to reverse back over. And then in pre-shadow, it goes back over those degrees for the final time in direct motion. But it's still kind of incubating things. It's still gaining those insights. So this is some insight for coming more into May, once we're really kind of out of Mercury's reflection process, of how that's going to feel, what's coming up once, we're moving forward with Mercury and this fresh new Aries energy. What is the message from Spirit about that for you? We have Grouse. Embrace the power of dance and movement to access your highest guidance. Guidance coming through here too, and it's your highest guidance. And I like that. Inner child and higher self are very much so connected. We've got guide here and guidance. So it's like, I think in reflection, you're finding the keys, you're coming into epiphanies. It's like your higher self that's really turning on in this retrograde. And when everything's moving forward, it's like your higher guidance has really been found. And it's really going to create some movement and dance and like really connecting into your dynamic self, but with a greater pivotal focus. Still connected to that dance and movement energy, but more focused, more clear, more strategic. It feels like just a greater understanding of who you are. And very, very beautiful. Sorry, I'm eating my words here. I hope this was insightful. I wish you all a beautiful, if there is such a thing, Mercury retrograde. I think it's just sort of pull back a little bit. Don't engage in Mercury retrogrades can end up being like a really busy time. But I think for you guys, find some space, find some time to decompress, disengage a little, and just let it be a very healing, insightful time. And coming into May, I think you're going to be, hopeful, ready to move forward, really clear, and just positive. So that's where I'm going to leave you guys. I hope it resonated. If so, I always appreciate support with likes, shares, subscribes. Always grateful for kind and thoughtful comments as well. And I wish you guys a beautiful day wherever you are, and I will see you in future readings. Hello, Pile 3. Welcome to your Mercury retrograde in Aries reading. Some advice for how to get the most out of it for the purpose of the retrograde. And so the theme for you guys is the Muse with generosity and naivety. I love, obviously, Cosmo Muse is my kind of MO. So I love Muse energy. So Aries energy has a lot to do, because everyone has every zodiac sign within us. So wherever your astrology chart contains the Aries energy, it's where we really find our tightest boundaries, our sense of self, and really connect to what lights us up. And so the muse coming out here indicates to me that like your center, your sense of self is maybe a little bit more whimsical, artistic. You may sometimes have trouble finding your sense of self because you may be someone who has a little bit of blurred boundaries, a little bit more of a connection with a sense of the oneness of all. But that in itself, when you can identify with that and understand that essence is your sense of self, you sort of gain some clarity about who you are and what lights you up, and just like really getting clear about staying connected to inspiration and art and enchantment and whimsy and imagination. All these kinds of things are things that can really give you your centering and some drive, paradoxically. So sort of like losing your sense of self gives you clarity about your sense of self in a way. It's just like a very artistic way of being. But it is like, when you've connected to your sense of self because you feel passion and you feel direction. And for you, it's like loosening your boundaries to let inspiration in, and that gives you passion and direction. So it's a bit of a paradox, but hopefully one of the ways I phrased that makes sense. So this retrograde is going to have something to do with reconnecting to this aspect of you. I've seen in the last, the first two piles that there is, with any retrograde, it is a time of reflection, but it's potent in this one because we're in a new 19-year Aries journey where the degrees of Mercury are. It's really needing to reflect on the last Aries journey, the last 19 years of how you've connected to your sense of self, in order to then move forward with more clarity once this retrograde is over into a whole new Aries cycle. And so some reflection in this cycle, or some engagement with inspiration, some, whatever it is in terms of like arts or inspiration that light you up, like really engage those things. If it's dance, go see dance performances. If it's theater, do that. If it's painting, just don't initiate, like an art project that you're trying to do for something serious. Just take your paints out and paint for fun. Literature, maybe reread some books that were meaningful to you over the last 19 years. It's just like engage that creative side in a way that helps you to reflect on your past 19 years and reflect on your sense of self and passion. Okay, let's get a Priestess of Light card for you guys. Claiming the waters, peaceful self-regulation. Interesting. I do like this in the sense of like, you guys are the way I'm reading this, you have very open minds, because this is a Mercury reading. Open minds, nebulous minds potentially. And where that can be confusing and hard to have clarity when you have that, where clarity does come in, and we see in this priestess, the antlers, is people who are very spiritually centered and have big, broad boundaries, even though it can be hard for them to really contain a sense of self. They have these direct lines of communication to spirit, and spirit can help center you. And so if you stay fluid and you stay connected to inspiration and spirit, it will center you for you. It will help to guide you, and it will help you to regulate emotions that may feel, in this card we're seeing cups sort of spilling and overflowing, so a little bit of chaos. Your mind might be a little bit of have a little bit of turbulence as it's ending and beginning this new Aries cycle. But really staying connected to spirit, engaging things that really feel inspiring to you, are going to calm you, are going to help you to regulate some emotions, and are going to clarify and center you. And we have this big, bright full moon in back of her too. It's like illumination, things reflected to you from spirit, and you'll feel it flowing. We see this coming out of, like, these antlers are taking in that illumination and that spiritual energy, and they're flowing right out of her. She's not overthinking anything. And that is your, Mercury has a deep connection to the mind. That's your mind. It's very open. But if you try to control it and overthink, it gets crazy, right? You may have moments when you feel crazy. And that's when your mind is too overactive. But if you just sort of relax your mind and trust this flow of spirit and inspiration, everything more calmly moves into you. The inspiration comes into you, the guidance comes into you, centers you, regulates your emotion, and flows right back out in this beautiful way. And there's something, if you spend this retrograde reconnecting to inspiration and reflecting on the past 19 years, that you're going to come to understand about how to center this better and use it in more powerful, I just feel a lot of power here, like being able to use it in more powerful, fluid ways. Okay, let's get a card from the Woodland Wardens, and I'm going to read from the guidebook for this one. And we've got the opossum and peony with bashful. Okay, let me find, let's see, XX. Here we go. Bashfulness. To play possum is to remain quiet and still when faced with danger. The expression comes from the opossum's unique reaction to fear. It keels over and pretends to be dead. This is an instinctual response, and an effective one. Spotting what appears to be a dead opossum, predators will often lose interest. Similarly, the beautiful peony flower is associated with bashfulness. According to Greek mythology, nymphs who wished to hide from mortal eyes would disguise themselves as peonies. You may wish to hide away from the world. While periods of solitude are necessary and healthful, be sure your retreat isn't driven by fear. How do I respond to fear, instinctually or otherwise? Yeah, so I think with this Mercury retrograde, you're going to be reflecting and gaining a lot of new epiphanies and insights into, it's very easy when your mind and sense of self are have kind of nebulous boundaries, to have a fear response instead of to trust. It's like we're either being very trustful of the flow of the universe and channeling that, or we try to gain some personal control over it, and that's when the mind starts to interfere in ways it's not meant to, and creates, turbulence in the mental field. It creates self-sabotage, it creates fear. And I think this Mercury retrograde period, you're going to start to see how over the last 19 years, how that worked for you, where you got caught up in moving through fear, and turning trying to control your mind, and periods where things flowed better and how you kind of eased off of mind. yeah, and just like coming into a much more beautiful understanding of, let's see. Of your center. And you know, this opossum did say there are times where it's good to retreat from the world, but as long as it's not fear. And I think that that's, you know, when you do need to reclaim your center and reclaim a certain calmness, it's like understanding, you know, like you may need to retreat from the world to do that, but go into it with like more of a heart centering, asking your heart to help calm your mind and your heart to lead you towards inspiration that re-engages that natural flow, that natural connection to inspiration and your sense of self as connected to that. So regular, I do think that's important for this group is like my mystics, my artists, that kind of energy. Your mind does need breaks. It needs retreats in order to regroup and recenter. But there's a difference in doing it because you need to recenter, and a different, or versus doing it out of like fear and sabotage and like not wanting to put yourself out there, because Aries is a bold energy. We are talking about Mercury and Aries here. Aries is a bold energy. It does have a bravery to put itself out there. So when you feel those needs to retreat, it's like ask your heart and mind, am I retreating because I'm scared to put myself out there? I'm scared to be bold and to be brave? Or am I retreating because I'm trying to recenter and gain some calmness? And I think this Mercury retrograde period is going to help you to see that pattern and be able to better distinguish when you're doing one versus the other. And so to have a much more clear understanding of appropriate timing for retreat and appropriate timing of pushing yourself a little bit. And I think a lot of clarity, a lot of reflection on the past 19-year journey, Aries journey, is going to become clear here. Of when you're needing to recenter because your mind is turbulent and you need to calm and reconnect to inspiration, versus when you're pulling away out of fear of being seen. Just some epiphany, some aha, some deep clarity coming through here for you about that. Okay, let's do some tarot cards to gain a little more insight. Ten of Discs. Yeah, you're okay, Prince of Discs and trying to get our third card. This one feels right. King of Swords. Yeah, I like this. I really, really feel like this Mercury retrograde period, you are going to really come into some understandings of how to put your mystical or artistic or just complex, inspired mind to use in the world to share its pleasures and receive and come into greater sort of commerce and exchange through your inspired mind. And feeling this new focus of how to nourish and build and kind of be a steward of, how do I articulate this? My sense here, I'm going to have to kind of give an analogy, is when you hold a mind that is more complex, mystic, artist, someone who deals with complex things like institutions, it can be really easy to complicate things or to struggle to find sort of a direction and focus of like how to hone this in a way that like supports you and creates foundations in your life. It can easily just kind of leak out everywhere and not be contained in some way. But I think you've learned a lot of lessons over the last 19 years about how your mind is able to, hasn't been able to find good direction and boldness due to that nebulous energy, and how to adjust that to work for you, how to really more clearly direct your inspired mind in a way that supports you better, and in a way that you can be a steward of where it takes you and really mold direction better. It just feels more like a much more stable Aries 19-year journey is coming. So a more stable sense of being able to direct your mind in a way that supports you, in a way that allows you to be more bold and more focused while using your inspiration and your mysticism and your complexity, instead of it just kind of going wherever, not really directing it, but just acting on impulse with it. I think you've learned a lot about that in the last 19 years. And this new Aries journey is going to be different. I think you have a recognition and an understanding that hasn't been great for you. And this retrograde is going to bring you the epiphanies and the insights you need of like how to direct your sense of self, your impulse, your passions, what light you up in a way that you have more focus and control and exchange with. And then also we see this with the King of Swords, just feeling more like understanding the way your mind works too, a little bit better going into this next 19 year of, your sense of self, having so much more command of how you use your mind in relation to your sense of self and passion and drive. It's a much better cycle coming in for you, and this Mercury retrograde period is meant for you to really do some reflecting and gain some epiphanies, and I think retreating a little bit from activity in order to calm your mind, find those insights, epiphanies, ahas, whatever they are, and really trusting the flow of the universe, that inspiration that flows through you, getting still enough to let it move through you, refine you, regulate you, calm those mental waters, and find those deep mental understandings about your sense of self and passion and how to direct it with clear confidence, but also with in a way that really gives you solid, fortunate, fertile foundations. Yeah. Okay, wow. That was kind of a complex reading, but I like where it went. I like the message coming through that you're really getting a grasp on how to contain your passion and impulses so they don't just kind of go wherever. More focused, more channeled, more strategic to support you. Yeah, so last card we're going to do is I want to see, once Mercury goes direct, April 25th, it will still be in shadows. So there's a pre and post shadow, before and after retrograde, where pre-shadow is going over, Mercury is traversing degrees of the zodiac that in retrograde it reverses over. And then in post-shadow, it goes back over those degrees for the last time and finally moves forward over them. So we'll be, after April 25th, we'll be in post-shadow for a little bit. But come April, we're going to be in really fresh, fertile energy for our mind, with all these new epiphanies that have come. And I want to see how, like, advice, guidance from the universe about once it's time to kind of move forward, to initiate new things and to engage these fresh insights in our lives. Like, what is the guidance from spirit about this, or just an insight? Crow, universal laws and truths are now being revealed. Use this energy to create your reality. Yes, I really think this is speaking to you starting to understand the nature of your mind, and it being a little bit of that, having to just be very open and trusting of the universe because of its openness. So really understanding the nature of your mind allows you to better control, I don't want to say control, but like focus and harness its energy in a way that is supportive of you, like you're understanding these truths. And through that, you can now, on this next 19-year Aries journey, really use your mind in a way that because you understand it better, really use it in a way that focuses on the reality you want to create, and one that's realistic and right for you because you understand your mind and what excites it, what lights it up, what gives it passion, hence the reality it even wants, yeah, so that's huge. So starting in May, it's like this whole new cycle coming through of like really knowing how to use your mind based on its true essence. And because of that, really being able to create your realities more potently, more directly, more focusedly. Yeah, very cool. Beautiful, beautiful. All right, so definitely take this retrograde to kind of step back, calm the mental waters here, regain some energy and clarity, trust spirit to bring inspiration to you, and just be open and that channel that lets it flow through you. Yeah, just really step back this retrograde. It's going to be a big one for huge epiphanies coming through. Okay, happy retrograde to you. Happy journey on really coming into some beautiful understandings. If this resonated, I always appreciate support with likes, shares, subscribes. Always grateful for kind and thoughtful comments as well. And yeah, I wish you guys a beautiful day wherever and whenever you are, and I hope to see you in future readings. All right, see you guys.